What's up? This is Johnnae on JohnaeTv. Listen, y'all about to get the exclusive of the Clark sisters, because today we're talking about them and we're gonna break down what happened in the movie. Today we're gonna talk about the Clark sisters, and it was on Lifetime. The movie was phenomenal. I watched it. It was amazing. Okay, I just want to let you guys know. Before I go into the sisters, we have Jackie, we have Leo. A lot of people didn't know they had a brother. They have a brother named Leo Henry, Denise, then we have Twinkie, then we have Dorinda, and then Karen. Okay? Jackie was the oldest sister, oldest child out of all of them. And we learned that, you know, even when she came home, she brought Henry, the chicken from Henry's. And it showed that, you know, she took care of her younger siblings. She took care of her younger sisters, and she brought food. We knew that she was working. She had a job, and we also seen that she, you know, paid rent. She was paying her mom $50 to, you know, stay there. She was helping her mom and her dad out. Maddie Moss Clark. The movie showed that she had marital problems and that she was going through a lot, being one of the top, you know, people in music, gospel music. We found out that she had a gold record. Her husband, which was Albert Clark, he was a pastor. So it had some conflict because she was, you know, he said she had too much ambition. You know, she seemed like she was kind of trying to put on the pants too, and he wasn't having it. So it seems like he was a bit abusive, and he was, you know, physically abusive to Maddie Mark. So it seems like she was pretty much in an abusive marriage. So within the abusive marriage, we see that Maddie was going through what she was going through with her husband, and, you know, Jackie come to find out that he was being abusive to her mother. After she barged in and found out that what was going on, she went to call the police in the movie, and it seems that he came downstairs and whoosh, he was just like, oh my gosh, and he was like, you're not even my child. How dare you call the police in my house? Well, I was just like, okay. So we also come to find out that Jackie is really not a Clark. Jackie is actually a Cullum. Maddie was married before Albert Clark. She was married to a Cullum. Leo and Jackie was born from the first marriage of her first husband. Now, they don't say nothing about the first marriage, but Maddie was married to her former husband. I think his name was Leo. I don't know. And by the way, since we're talking about family, Maddie Moss' brother name is Bill Moss. He's a gospel singer. And I was like, okay, so it's in the family. And Bill Moss' son is J Moss. Y'all know J Moss? There's a praise on the inside,
and I can't keep it to myself. I holler, stir it up, hey, from the depth of my soul. So excuse me if I seem a little giddy straight, 'cause praise is the way I say thanks. Hallelujah.
J Moss is a cousin of the. Okay, so it's a small world. All right, now I've got to put some more respect on the Moss Clark Cullums family. The Clark Listen, Denise took me out when she said Clark. Jackie and Leo were not a part of the Clark. So, how did Jackie end up with the Clark name? I don't know. I know she's definitely a part of the Clark sisters, but she ended up picking up the Clark name for some reason. Because I don't think she took on her dad's name. I don't know, child. It's a lot of family stuff going on, and I'm just going to stay out of it. Come to find out, that's not her biological dad. So it seems like she has some type of resentment with Elbert Clark. So in the movie, we also see that, you know, all the sisters are together, but Denise and Twinkie seem to be a little bit more closer together than the rest of the sisters. We see that after we see the hardships and things that are going on in the movie, Twinkie would come to the aid of Denise after she is, you know, she feels black sheeped and left out and estranged. Back in the day, it was kind of different because Jackie came to her mother's house, and when she first went there, she had on some pants. And at that time, I believe that at work, they were making the women wear pants. Dr. Mattie Moss Clark wasn't having it, honey. So she slammed the door. And after she slammed the door, she opened it back up and was like, and you know, basically when you get back, you better take them britches off. Don't come in my house with them britches. Take them britches off and put on the skirt or a dress. Back in the day, women weren't allowed to wear pants. They had to wear skirts, low skirts, you know, or dresses, you know, below the kneecap. And back in the day, it was very strict, and not only just strict in time, but also in the church, Kojic church. You know, a lot of women couldn't wear lipstick, red lipstick at that. They couldn't wear red. Like what I got on, they couldn't wear it in the church. Because, you know, you giving off, you know, the spirit of Jezebel. That spirit. Hey! They couldn't do that type of stuff. They couldn't, you know, wear certain clothes, their hair. They couldn't wear makeup at times, you know. It was just a lot in the Kojic church, and it was very strict back in those days. So she ended up coming in the house with it. You know, she ended up changing to a skirt. Greg and Dorinda meets in church and choir. Well, they show that they met in church, the choir, and how, you know, they met and how they was flirting, and what's the name? It's like, I see you over there. I see you over there sneaking and smirking. I want to know what's so funny. Y'all better get these notes right. She threw the shoe at the girl because I think that she threw the shoe because they wasn't sounding right, and then somebody had gum, and she said, if you wasn't chewing gum, you might sound right. You might. Child, my spirit has been sent on that scene. That girl, she played that so well. It was amazing. Also, later in the movie, you see that she also got proposed in the church. And that was amazing. And she told her sister Twinkie. It was amazing. It was very beautiful. Congratulations to Dorinda and Greg. Jackie gets married to Glenn. In the movie as well, she gets ready for the wedding, and her mom was like, you know what, I want you to come back. You know, I divorced Clark. You know, she ended up getting rid of him, and, you know, she wanted her daughter back. So I believe her daughter ended up coming back. But then she ended up getting married, so she left again, and she gave her all the money that she's been paying her mother for rent. So that was amazing as well. Everybody is singing, they're traveling, they're doing all of what they're doing. And Karen gets offered for a solo deal, and she says no. And she was like, you got to go to my mom, and you know, I don't want to have this conversation with you, right? And if I'm not mistaken, the same guy went to Twinkie and had a conversation with her. The way I watched it was kind of funny, so don't, you know, quote me on everything. So the next thing we see, Twinkie rolls up in a brand new car. Now, I believe it was I believe it was a Cadillac, but then they said it was a Lincoln, so I don't know. It was one of the cars, but she ended up with a new car. And when she came with a new car, she was just so excited. She was just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So when she went inside the house, they end up finding out that Twinkie sold the catalog to a record company. And it was like, Twinkie, how could you do this? And she was like, what do you mean? Those were my songs. I wrote the songs. And for you guys that didn't know, Twinkie wrote all of the music for the Clark sisters. She was the writer and composer of most of the songs that she wrote for the Clark sisters. So she held the writers for the songs that she wrote. And she sold that to a record company. In exchange for that, she bought a new vehicle. And to me, when you never had something for your own, working for your family business or your sisters, your mom and parents, and you know your life is devoted to that, or somebody else's pretty much dream almost, you start to feel left out because you want something personal for yourself. You want to reward yourself personally. And Twinkie just wanted something personal for herself. She wanted to feel accomplished that she did something, and in return she got a car, and that meant a lot to her. But unfortunately, it didn't work out too well for the mother and the rest of the sisters, because she gave up the rights pretty much. And the mom was not having it. She was like, you just sold your future. You just sold your sister's future. We all was dependent on you, and you went and did this, you know. And before this happened, I think before or after, before that happened, she was telling Twinkie that I want you to take over the business. She said, I want you to take over the girls. You know, you write the songs and you teach them the music and everything, and I will do the business. So she ended up doing business without her mom, and her mom was very upset about that. In 1983, Karen and J. Drew actually meets. And the way that they meet is because Twinkie was actually very close friends with J. Drew. And he invited her over. I think he was helping, J. Drew was helping Twinkie bring something in the house. And I think he, you know, pretty much had a crush for her anyway. Come to find out that they end up meeting and singing in the house. And he was like, you know, I want to get to know you. And, you know, I'm very attracted to you. And Karen was like, listen, you be dipping and dabbling with all these don't know God folks, and you just be with all these other girls, and listen, I'm not the one. I'm not the one. So he was just like, really, like, I really want to be with you. So that's how they met, and you know, I guess they started kicking it. And after that, we see that after they started spending more time with each other, what's the name was like, you know, I want to get more in ministry, and I want to be a pastor, and I want to pastor a church, and I want you to be my first lady, and you know, I just want to know if you want to marry me. So he gets down on one knee and proposed, and she was just like, oh my gosh, yes. So that was also amazing of how they met. So later in the movie, we also found out that Denise ends up pregnant.
Is my living in thine?
Denise is pregnant. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, what are we gonna do? So all the sisters start criticizing her, like, oh my gosh, and what they're gonna do and what they're gonna think, and we won't be able to sing no more. They're gonna cancel us. And the mom came in and was like, look, put this on, and I will deal with you later. So that's what happened. And you know, it was a lot of pressure on her. Twinkie was like, start writing everything, and what happened was, she wrote The Sunshine.
You are my sunshine in my life.
Right. So when she was singing that, she come up, they had all the girls in the house and they were coming up with the song, and she got this beat. And when she got this beat, it was actually Stevie Wonder's beat. Dun, 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 dun. I think it was jamming. Jamming to the break of dawn. Dun, dun, dun. And it was like a reggae kind of funk beat. And Twinkie added that in gospel. So a lot of people think that Kurt Franklin was using Biggie and Lil' Kim beats and taking stuff off the streets. But it was actually Twinkie that started doing this stuff for gospel. So I was just like, okay, wow, that was amazing. You know, and come to find out, it was like, Mama, you think we should sing this? And she was like, yeah, sing it. Why y'all can't sing it? And she didn't know, child. She did not know that that was a secular beat that they made the gospel, you know, but we sing it for God. Child. I believe that Sunshine ended up being #1 on gospel at some point, if I'm not mistaken. So they end up going to rehearsal, and we learned that the mom, you know, said that, you know, they have, you know, a show at the Grammys, and it was just like, oh my gosh, the Grammys? Do we have to perform at the Grammys, or did we get nominated? So we see that they got nominated for the Grammys, and they went to perform at the Grammys.
Hallelujah.
I didn't understand is that I wanted to see what happened after. Like, did they win a Grammy? What happened? Did they lose? Did they, you know, I didn't see what happened after they performed at the Grammys. If they was nominated for, they said it was nominated for a Grammy. We didn't see any results. I didn't see it. I don't know. Let me know. We see that Maddie gets pulled in at the Kojic meeting. And the Kojic meeting is pretty much, they have a board of the Kojic church. And, you know, Maddie had a position at the church. And, you know, because she performed with her daughters at the Grammys, that was like a secular audience, a secular stage. They was like, we're going to have to sit you down because, you know, you're going against the bylaws of the church. And, you know, like that, you know, that's not godly. And it was like, you know, she was just like, you know, you just trying to take me away from my daughters. That's my children. That's my children. You just trying to sit me down and shut me up out the church. She was just not having it, like, you know, so she ended up making a conscious decision that, you know what, I'm going to have to sacrifice my position in the church, and I'm going to keep my position in church and just let my daughters sing, you know, let them, you know, do the business, but just let them sing. So that's what she chose to do. Finally, the Clark sisters end up getting a deal. So they end up getting a record deal, and they're all sitting at the table. And before this happened, mind you, what's her name was just like, oh, I need to, you know, I need a babysitter on X, Y, and Z. And she asked her mom, can she watch her kids? And she was like, listen, honey, I don't raise my kids. You need to raise yours. And that's pretty much what the typical black mother would say. So I think that also probably ticked her off a little bit too. Sitting at the table and everything, it was time for everybody to sign contracts, and Denise just was not having it. She was like, no, I'm not about to sign this contract. Y'all not about to have control over my life. I want my own. I want to be happy. And if I sign this, that means you own me. And Denise didn't want to feel owned, especially by the Clark sisters. It didn't seem like the singing was so much of a passion for her. She did it because that's what her mom wanted to do, but it wasn't her passion. She did not feel like that was her calling. You know, she just wanted to be free. She wanted to do something of her own, something with no label or no title. And, you know, her mom was just like, tell me why you hate me so much. And it was just like, it's not that I hate you, because I love all of y'all. It's just that you give so much love to Karen. You give so much love to Dorinda. You give so much love to Twinkie. You give so much love to Jackie. And it's like, I'm left out. And it's like, what do you have left for me? You know? And I feel that the relationship between Denise and her mother wasn't so strong. Why? I don't know. Why she resented Denise. as much as all the other girls. I don't know. I'm just you get what I'm saying. You know, that's the only I can't really put the relationship just not really wasn't there between Denise and Miss Clark. So that's all I got to say about that. She ends up walking out and she doesn't sign. So we see that Twinkie ends up moving on with her life. And when she moves on with her life, we also finds out that Twinkie meets John, which is, you know, the guy that she starts to, you know, date and, you know, start, you know, try to, I think she was going to get married. She ended up getting married to John Terrell. John, I think his name is Johnny actually. And she ends up meeting him and, you know, she's, you know, going to tell the group like, hey, I'm going to leave the group and, you know, I just want to start my own life and I just want to be happy and, you know, I just want to move on, you know, and it seemed like the group is kind of falling apart. We knew that Denise was, you know, in and out and she wasn't so committed to the group, but then we see Twinkie. And the reason why it was so detrimental to Twinkie, that Twinkie was leaving is because Twinkie held the group together. She was the writer. She told everybody what to do. She was the instructor, alongside with Maddie Clark. But, you know, Twinkie had a lot of say-so in the group, you know, as the writer and composer and, you know, the musician, you know, because she also played the music. So we see that now that Twinkie is trying to leave the group, like, what does this mean to us and the rest of the sisters? What does this mean to Karen? What does this mean to Dorinda and Jackie? And although they have the same gifts that Twinkie had all at one, but they still relied on their sister and they was devastated that she wanted to leave and have her own life. And we see that Twinkie also looked up to Denise because we see that Denise ends up having her own freedom. She wanted a piece of freedom too, and we see that Twinkie was close to Denise. So I feel like some of Denise kind of rubbed off on Twinkie, and Twinkie wanted a piece of mind too. So we see that Twinkie goes home and finally say her goodbyes to her mother. And her mother was just, Maddie Moss was just not having it. She wasn't having it. So she came in there and she opened the door and she came in there with her and John and she was just like, what's going on? And, you know, well, Mama, I'm just letting you know that, you know, I just want to say bye and I'm leaving. And I'm always just like, look, we got shows, we got this date, that date, this date, that date. And she was like, Mama, like, I don't want to be your organ player. That's all you need. You just need me to play the piano. You just need me to do this. And her mama admitted that I needed you. I need you. Her mama seen that, you know, other than her being her daughter, she made sure the money was coming in. Twinkie made sure the money was coming in and everybody depended on Twinkie. But Twinkie really just wanted to live her own life. And it was hard. It was really hard. It was a hard decision. So after they was going through their struggles and they fussed a little bit, got very emotional, her husband, John, stepped in and was like, you know what, we gotta go. And he ended up barging in and pushing Maddie Moss on those steps. And after that, Twinkie decides to still walk out with that man. First of all, because she was like, hey, something ain't right, it's not right, and you're making the wrong decisions. The nigga didn't even have a job. Let's put it there. The nigga didn't even have a job, number one. Number two, you put your hands on my mama? And then she walked out after and left with the nigga? Honey, I was just like, oh my gosh, listen, that would have been the last straw for me. That would have been the last straw for me. You put your hands on my mama and then you think I'm still supposed to be with you? This is what happens. Women ignore all the signs, honey. And see, about those type of women being in the church and not really entertaining men, supposedly is what. She was like the first man that gives you some attention, you want to run off with him. And I feel like that's kind of what happened. You know, she met John. John was somebody that made her feel like a woman. You know, she was a big woman. She was in church, and you know, she probably has some type of low self-esteem in some areas. And he probably came in and, you know, filled the void in a lot of areas that she was missing. You know, her father ended up their father ended up leaving at a young age. So, you know, those things happen and you start to fall in love in all the wrong places. And we get to ignore the signs. So we go all the way to 1994. Oh my gosh, that is the year, honey. So 1994, we get there and we see that the mom was having some complications. And we see that you know, Jackie comes home and was like, Mama, you gotta take your medicine. She didn't want to take her medicine. And we see that, you know, she ended up buying Jackie some pants. She gave her a gift and it was some pants. And, you know, it showed that how she was coming into, you know, the 90s and trying to adjust to the new age at that time. And she wanted her daughter to know that, you know, she had some type of acceptance inside of her. She wanted to, you know, bless her daughter with some pants. So that's what she did. But Jackie was also like, okay, thank you, Mom, but you had to take your medicine. And she was like, well, the Lord say,
I am healed. I am healed.
I'm here today.
may have some scars, I'm still healed.
Disappointment. I am healed. So, circumstances. I'm still healed.
She had some scars, and on her leg, and she was, you know, bleeding on her leg, and she was like, Mama, what's going on? She's like, no, I'm fine. And come to find out, she was a diabetic and she wasn't taking her medication. So also in the movie, it didn't show everything, but I also found out from other sources, she ended up getting her leg amputated. And she also had a stroke at some point. Maddie Moss ends up in the hospital. So when she's in the hospital, we're like, oh my gosh, you know, Mama, are you gonna be okay? She's like, I'm gonna be fine. And you know, she's having a conversation with three of the daughters. It was Denise, Jackie, and no, not Denise. It was Jackie, Karen, and Dorinda at her bedside. And we see that they were the ones that were there. And it's like, you know, they were standing, and then we knew Denise was, you know, doing her own thing, but they also had the brother, Leo. We didn't see the brother Leo nowhere in the movie. Like, I was told that he was in the movie, but nobody knew where Leo was, and if Leo played a part, like, we needed to know where he was, and nobody knew where he was. So it was just like, okay, nobody knew they even had a brother. So I'm just putting that out there. Maddie Moss Clark, Dr. Maddie Moss Clark, now passes away, and it's a sad moment because we have the funeral scene where they come in the funeral and the sisters are there, and then we see that Denise shows up. And in the movie, Karen says, did y'all know that she was coming? And Jackie was like, no, we didn't know. And it was just like, why wouldn't she be invited to her mother's funeral? Why would she be invited to the funeral? So it's like, okay, but come to find out that that really wasn't the case. They told her, you know, it was just a little different. It was just twisted. Anyways, Denise decides to go up and speak. And as she was speaking, I guess she was just very boisterous and very arrogant, and that's my mother, and my mother, and I have all my 7 children here, and you know, this and that, and whoop and woo, and they was just like, y'all need to get her from up there. So the sisters proceeded to go up there, you know, and she was like, you know, she was just like, and I am Denise Clark. Listen what she said there. Honey, when Denise introduced to herself, I am Denise Clark. Girl, when I tell you, I felt I was sent. I got sent. I was just like, oh my gosh, she just gave me everything. They was just like, you know what, we need to go up there and we need to get her off. So they ended up going up there, and it was just like, okay, we need to come on, let's go, you know. And then the pastor come up there, and you know, they was just like, you know, okay. After that, that's when they had a scene, you know, they got into some conflict outside. So outside, it was just like, oh, I want to get in this car, you know. And come to find out that Denise had 7 boys. She had 7 boys, and it was just like, wow. Like 7 boys, and they all was at the funeral, so they all was in the car, and she wanted to get in the car with the family, the sisters, and pretty much the sisters wasn't allowing Denise to get in the car with them. She was like, just go in the, you know, just get in the car. Dorinda was just like, get in the car with, you know, your people. Don't you want to be with your kids? Don't you want to be with your children? She was like, well, listen, honey, my kids is with my husband. I want to get in this car. I have every right. And which she do. She do have every right. I mean, she is a sister. But because how she was carrying on at the funeral, they was like, no, you're not about to get in the car with us. So, hey, she ended up getting in the car. And Karen and Denise ended up going back. And Karen was just like, look, I will let you out. But what I really want to see Karen do,
I will lay you out.
that's what she should have did. But she ain't do it. She was just like, I will lay you out. Girl, you better back up in the name of Jesus. But, you know, Denise wasn't having that either. Like, girl, bye, Clark sisters. She was like, bye, Clark sisters. Girl, that was funny, honey. I was just like, oh, I can't take it. So we don't see Denise anymore after that scene. So we going on and see, after everybody try to recuperate, we see that Twinkie has a nervous breakdown. She go back in the church crying like, oh my gosh, I left you, mama, and I should have stayed, and I should have been by your side. And you know, she had the guilt trip, and she went to the hospital, and she pretty much was just out of it, you know what I'm saying? So Dorinda and Jackie was at her aid, and then we see that Dorinda, when, you know, everybody had their piece of their breaking down moment, Dorinda actually went to the waters, honey. She was on the bridge. She drove on the bridge, and she was standing over the bridge like she was about to commit suicide. And she said that, you know, God had rescued her, and she, you know, she ended up changing her mind, and she ended up busting out in the, you know, prostrate on the street in the Upper Roche, and that's what happened. You know, and then that's when we see that Karen ends up going in, I believe, for a gastro bypass or some type of cosmetic surgery. I believe it was some type of weight loss surgery. And she ends up slipping into a coma. And everybody thought that she wasn't going to make it, and she ended up having a recovery. But, honey, I think what really got Karen up is that kiss that she got from J. Drew. Honey, he was a fine young fella, honey. He was a fine young fella. And Kiara played that part really good. And I was kind of shocked as a gospel artist that, you know, she was, you know, but from the producers, they was like, okay, girl, you're going to have to kiss this man. And she ended up kissing him on the lips, and they kissed. And, you know, I heard that she was like, oh, well, you know, and I was kind of nervous. service, girl. You know you want the girl. Honey, she ended up kissing him, and I was just like, okay, Kiara, she ended up, you know, like, yes. Okay, girl, get it. 2008 is when she wrote the song.
It could have been me. It should have been me. It would have been me if it wasn't for the blood. Grace, mercy, just know that we are blessed and highly favored.
So she ended up writing that song, which was a very good song, and she got Twinkie to come back and sing with them at some point. So after that, we see that, you know, J. Drew also produced and helped, you know, with that, and they had to go sing, and you know they was trying to get Twinkie, and Twinkie ended up showing up for the performance. And then at the end, we see that from the actual the actors, and then the sisters. The actual sisters started singing, and it was only Karen, Dorinda, and Jackie that was singing when they revealed the real actual Clark sisters. But we didn't see Twinkie. But Twinkie was in the acting standpoint, but the reality of the sisters, when it flipped around, we didn't see Twinkie. So I was wondering, like, was she on the piano, or did she not make it on set? It was a weird moment. I didn't really get it. That was the movie. Let me know how you guys feel about it. I really thought it was an awesome movie. They took 20 years plus and combined it in an hour and 30 minutes, and that was amazing. I love the movie. I think the actors were phenomenal. The singing was phenomenal. Kiara, it's nobody else that could have did Karen. It was nobody else that could have did Karen. The acting was very good. The singing was very good. Shout out to Missy Elliott, the writers, all the writers, Lifetime. Shout out to Mary J. Blige and Queen Latifah for, you know, being an executive producer. I believe Karen kind of executive produced the movie as well, because they was playing them. And y'all gotta get something right with this Lifetime app, because I watched it on because I missed it on the actual live television. The Lifetime app, it was skipping parts, and I was missing stuff that I didn't see that everybody else seen. Like, it didn't show like the suicidal and Karen in the hospital, and you know, just different parts. Like, it was missing that I didn't get to see, and how they was also missing out on money at certain performances and stuff. I didn't get to see that on the Lifetime app. I had to go watch it on YouTube. Somebody uploaded on YouTube the bootleg version. I actually seen the parts that I missed, so I don't know. Y'all gotta figure that out. But anyways, honey, I did feel that they should have. I want to see more. I want to see at least 2 hours or an hour and 50 minutes at least, or a series, you know, showing more in depth of what happened, because it was a lot of stuff that was missed, accomplishments and things that they went through, more of the hardships. But overall, I feel like it was a good movie, and I want to thank everybody for watching it. So make sure you guys, if you like this video and you like the content that I put out, make sure that you guys like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you guys like. This is JohnaeTv. Welcome to JohnaeTV, and thank you for sharing your time with me. Thank you for all the church folks that watched my video. You know,
hallelujah.
thank y'all so much. Thank you.